A few weeks ago, I published a reel that was way more controversial than I ever thought it would be. Now, the truth is, this reel was based off of a paper written by Dr. Chuck Doswell. He was an amazing tornado researcher, and he really hated this myth too. The myth is that the clashing of air masses, cold air coming south from Canada meeting hot air from the Gulf of Mexico, causes tornadoes. That's just not how it works. In fact, these clashes happen all the time across the planet and across the country, and we don't get tornadoes almost every time. It takes something very special and unique. The vast majority of tornadoes form in supercells. There are other convective systems these can form in. One is a quasi-linear convective system, which is a line of storms, but this happens when there is a lot of wind shear. Usually QLCSs and supercells share a similar environment where there's a lot of wind shear in the atmosphere, especially the lower atmosphere. Some people have been right to point out that there is a hot and cold air component to this, but it is in the vertical, not the horizontal. And that's not what most documentaries are talking about. They're talking about that horizontal clash of air masses. Vertically, you do need cooler air above warmer air, but that's also typically the case on almost every single day. The atmosphere gets cooler as you go up. You actually need a very special vertical temperature profile to make storms possible. There are other instances of tornadoes. There's people who do gotchas and say, well, what about land spouts or water spouts that come ashore? We're not talking about that. We're talking about the monsters, the giant tornadoes, okay? And those almost always are going to come from a supercell. The surprising thing is that actually the clashing of air masses is detrimental sometimes if that clash is strong enough to tornado formation. Tornadoes don't like cold rear flank downdrafts. This is established through lots of research. Cold fronts tend to reinforce the coldness of rear flank downdraft. So even if you get a supercell on a cold front, it oftentimes will not produce a tornado. But the more likely scenario is if this air mass clash is really strong, you're going to get what we call a squall line. And the thing I said in the original video still stands true. A lot of supercells do not form with cold Canadian air in the vicinity, within states of it. There have been many tornado outbreaks across the country where that cold Canadian air was nowhere to be found. That's why this is just a myth. It's not true. It's an oversimplification at best. At worst, it's something that we're teaching that has been known to be wrong for quite a while.